good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the case may be. I am your humble host, excuse me, Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And with that said, welcome, welcome, welcome to anyone who passes by this way. You are welcome. And so there's been a lot of discussion this last week or so. Howdy, Barry, Elderberry. Um, I'm here on time. Do you believe it? I'm here on time. And I know it's not 20, but it is, but it ain't. Hey, Chloe. So a lot of folks complaining about free speech. Nanny, nanny, boo, boo. I just took them like 3 minutes ago. Swallowed the last one with some coffee just so that you could ask me, did you take your meds? I sure did. All of them. So I'm caught up. And so I'm going to take some other medicine. And so a lot of folks, talking about free speech, you know, about what happened with CK. I'm not going to go into a bunch of names, okay? With CK and the person out in that western state, that did that thing, um, free speech says that, hey Richard, how you doing? It is good to see you, my friend. Prayers and blessings to you. I'm smoking the stogie now. Okay, well, let's all stogie up then. But is that well, we have the right to speak our minds. We have the right to be able to our First Amendment right, free speech. Okay, I'm an old hippie. I'm all about free speech, right? But then there is free speech with consequences. And it's free speech with consequences, you dumbass. Now, it's like, for example, oh, I can't believe that, I'm a firefighter and I can't believe that, my city would want to lay me off because I was jumping up and down and parading all about it, how I like the idea about how somebody you know, got, mobbed out of here, like the mob in the old days. Wait. Come on. What? So, free speech. Well, so then, folks, free speech on that app that they were using. Well, we could say what we want. We could talk about whatever we want to on whatever platform we want to. It's free speech. We're covered by the First Amendment. Okay, really? So it's free speech with consequences. Hawkeye, what do you mean? Well, let's go back to when you was a kid growing up. All right. If I remember a time when it was around Christmas time and I wanted to put the lights on the Christmas tree because I thought I was old enough and big enough and tall enough that I could put the lights on the Christmas tree, right? And so one of my our favorite things, like the boys in the locker room and out in the, it was like, oh, fire truck, which codeine tablets made me groggy. Be careful now. Um, and so it's like, so, I goofed up and instead of, oh, fire truck or something, anyway, I just said, I fire truck, and I said the word, and it was like, and there was this deadly silence because Bessie was standing like right there, you know, not a word, you know. Fuck, fuck. What did I just say? Holy shit. Oh no, I know I said another word. Oh no. I'm like 13 or 14, and I'd let slip a hell or a damn somewhere along the line. Every day is Christmas. Yeah, well, here, let's have another Christmas special, right? So, so at that time, I had the freedom of speech. I could say anything, any fudging thing I wanted to fudge and say, right? And the fact that I fudged up and said the fudge word, and with this deathly sign like, oh no. So I had the right, I had the right to say anything I wanted to, but I had to suffer the consequences. Like, you will be grounded for the next month. As the kid, Easter came what? Plastic eggs? Well, that just sounds rude. Um, but so this idea that you can say, oh, you're going to limit my speaking. Maybe you should pay attention to where you're speaking and to how you're speaking. So I have not a bit of sympathy for any of these people who danced and cheered and glorified the that nasty thing that happened to CK last week that was uncalled for, a lot of stuff, you know, and in this day and time, oh my goodness gracious. So I'm not saying any of the, trigger words, so y'all know what I'm talking about. But so, but I have free speech. Yeah, free speech that YouTube's going to use algorithms to find out what I'm talking about. And they have already in the past, warned me, taken certain videos down, and without any reason, rhyme, or only that I had broken some kind of something with their bylaws. So I have the right to say it at any time I want to, but I have to suffer the old consequences, right? But I had the right to say them. Yeah, I have my First Amendment right. Yeah, and then my video got took down. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. What happened to my First Amendment right? Well, because I could say it. It don't mean that YouTube had to leave it up or even let me publish it. So, along with a lot of other people. So it's like, but wait a minute. What about this free speech? Well, it's only free depending on where you're going to use it. So now these people who had free speech, who declared their distaste or for a certain person, and we're glad of their demise, which is just wait. Listen, I might not like your guy or gal, but there's a certain thing that we used to have called a little bit of dignity, a little bit of morality. Like, I didn't really know your guy, and, we didn't see eye to eye, and, you know, sorry for your loss, and shut up. And then quietly, after you turn off your camera and sit around and talk with your friends and have a beer, and you go, I didn't like that son bitch. You know, that city councilman of ours, hey, that son bitch, he did us wrong. Oh, well, I would never say that online or in front of anybody else, but we're among friends here at the bar. Yeah, Joe, yeah, we hate that son bitch too. In that situation, y'all could talk about somebody and discuss their, you know, glad that they're not around or whatever. But that would be within a closed setting. Not that you would post something on TikTok or wherever and allow millions of people to see your face and watch you jump up and down. And then y'all bitch about, oh, well, what about my First Amendment rights to free speech? Oh, you dumbass. You said it. You showed everybody who you are. You have the right to say it and to show it. And then everybody else had the right to go, sorry, we don't like your social behavior. I miss my old photos badly, not seen a picture. So this idea of being able to speak what's on your mind is fine. But folks these days have not learned a bit of couth, not one bit of couth, whatever couth. Look it up. It just, wait a minute. Well, just a tiny bit of empathy. I still don't like your guy, but a loss of life is not good under any circumstances. And shut up. Whether you like the guy or girl or gal or whoever, whether you agree with them or not, shut up. You have the right to say what's on your mind, but maybe up to a certain point, you shut the fudge up and learn a little bit of decorum. Like maybe this just isn't the platform to go jumping up and down about how happy I am about this. What? Did you not learn any manners? Apparently not. Well, I can't believe they fired me. Then you're an idiot and you're a dumbass because your free speech and your actions that you videotaped for millions of people to look at and go, nah, we don't like your behavior. Decorum, now that's the word. Yeah, they're right. There's no decorum, none. I mean, I think no one has had a civics course. There's morality, there are mores, that people, there are certain things that you just don't do. I mean, like when you was a little kid, hopefully, little boys peeking in on little girls. No, you don't do that, and they slap your hand or whoop your butt, and you don't peek in on girls, even though until you're, a dirty old man, you're still peeking on girls. I jest. But the idea, though, that is like, but what can you say? Yeah, I'm too old to peep. Now, my friend Tom, he's the same age, but anyway, never mind. Um, but to the what we can speak and what we can say and how we speak our minds. Sure, I'm sitting here and it says there are several people in the chat room, and I know Richard and Chloe. You had a dirt bike, not me, but anyway. Um, but so we can have conversation here, and I feel like we're in a little community here. And all right, my friends, we're all just sitting here having a chat together. But then, but the potential of 1 million people seeing this video, I doubt it, but it's the potential thing, right? One person could share it and go, hey, watch this, but then, so whatever I say, then my personal opinion, because I'm stating it here now it becomes like, well, now, Dave, this is what you said. All right, well, let's watch the video. Let's listen to it again. Make sure you ain't trying to twist what I said. Okay, right? And if I messed up, I'll be the first one to go, whoops. And I mean that with sincerity. I don't want to whoops, But so with this, decorum, man. So is anybody being mean to these people? Well, I lost my job. Well, you lost your job, I think, because you're a dumbass. Honestly, you have the right to disagree. You have the right to say what you want to say. But don't you think you should have had enough brain power not to put it on TikTok, not to put it on X, not to put it out there for 7 billion people to look at or have a potential, because you just happen to feel this way about this particular thing? I have the right to speak my mind. Okay, then suffer the consequences, dumbass. Do I feel for these people? No. Did anybody say that they couldn't speak their own mind? No. Say all you want to. But then when people go, no, then, but I can't understand why somebody pointed out what I said and I lost my job at the fire department. Or that this teacher lost her job as an English teacher, and some of her students recorded her and what she was saying about him, the day after or something. And one of the kids in the classroom were like, well, wait a minute, I'm going to record this with my cell phone here. And this is what my teacher said about this in class, in school, who had no business saying anything. If she said anything, she should have taught her class empathy. I don't know what that word means. That's because you don't know what it is. And you don't know what it would feel like. So it's like everybody out there has got the A word, Asperger's. They're being asses and it's burning up the bird, Asperger's. That's bad for the people who actually have Asperger's. A friend of mine does. And can't help it. It just is. But there are people who have the choice not to act like Asperger's. They have the common sense, supposedly, so this teacher dancing up and down and doing this thing and woo woo woo, and what do you mean I lost my job? You have no empathy. You don't have a brain in your head. You can still say whatever you want to, but don't use that. Don't use a platform like that to go voice it to the planet. Go home to your beer buddies or gals. Go home around the barbecue and state your opinion there. You have the free rights to speak whatever you want to, but choose the right venue, for crying out loud, right? Ooh, it's a 20. Choose the right venue. Well, I'm going to make this video here. I'm going to jump up and down and I'm going to show my ass and I'm going to leave it to the world to see how I feel about this. And but if somebody don't like it, I'm going to get mad. Well, let's just have a 20. I've only been on the back of a bike twice. Oh, y'all still talking about bikes. That's okay. But so, do we have the right to speak our minds? Absolutely. It is a God-given right. But it's like, you're standing, the chief calls you in, you're a bunch of braves are standing around and the chief calls you in and all the braves are, talking amongst themselves. And, the one brave, he's sharpening his axe on a rock, and the chief's over there and he's talking to his wife and, they're he's a little bit pissed off. And, so the chief says, well, he big bad day. That's right, chief. So blowing wind, why did you set that fire? The blowing wind says, well, chief, I thought, build fire, big tall fire. And, and what? And let the grass catch on fire and burn down our teepees and burn down the whole prairie, chased off the buffalo for 100 miles and left us with no clothes, no food, ran off the horses and what? And so, well, chief, I think you're mistaken about how bad things are. You have the right to say anything you want to. Now, chief, I think you're wrong about this whole affair. And what's the chief going to do? The chief's going to have you drawed and quartered. And if they can find a horse, they're going to, pull you behind it for a ways. Why? Well, you have the right to say that. And the chief had the right to tie you behind a horse and drag you across the prairie. But I have the freedom to say what I, go ahead, so these people, you listen to some of them in Congress, for example. Now I was listening to the pencil neck geek, Adam Schiff, or this guy who was questioning Kash Patel today in Congress. And it was like, this guy is an idiot. And the fact that he kept trying to make Kash look like a dumbass, and Kash was like, I am not having it. You are not going to get me into a one-word gotcha. Then he's like, this is what, did anybody did you fire anybody, just because Trump wanted you to? And he goes like, no, Senator, I did not. Are you sure under any way, shape, form? Did you fire anybody? No, Senator, I did not. So it's like, well, how come you can't give a straight answer? And he just kept. Well, wait a minute. So he had he has the right. The senator has the right to ask the question. He has the right to free speech. He's the senator, and he can ask a question of the director of the FBI. But does it mean that the guy's qualified to ask the question? Or whether the question was appropriate? Or whether the fourth or fifth time that he tried to ask the question again to the director, was that appropriate? Well, freedom of speech, First Amendment right, that I can grill this person, over and over and over and over again. And, and I can try to pin something on the director of the FBI because I don't like him. But wait a minute, but he's doing his best to give you the truth better than any other FBI director has done in the past. In my 73 years of recollection, hey, F. Kitty. So I'm like, that's free speech, right? He has the freedom to ask those questions, but is it appropriate? Was it just, so much hullabaloo and, um, he has the right, he's a senator, he can say what he wants, and yeah, but was it true? Was any of some of the allegations he said, were they true? Well, I've been listening to stuff and paying attention, and I was like, that's not true. That's not what he said. You're lying to him to try to get him. That's not true. You, Senator, you just lied. In my head, I'm like, I'm not stupid. And you just said, do you think the American people are stupid, Mr. Director? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, but Senator, you're treating me like I'm the dumbass. Freedom of speech, okay? And it's close in, see? So the senator's asking questions. The American people are watching, some of them. Folks like me are going, what a dumbass. Then there are other people going, oh my God, I can't believe, the director of the FBI couldn't answer the senator's questions. He did answer the questions, but you're not paying attention. But let's move on from that topic, right? So you're saying what this guy is saying the truth. He's giving the facts out as they have been acquired. The senator, on the other hand, is just making shit up, and what about this? And it's like, Senator, come on. And what about that? And it's like, this is one thing I got to say. It hasn't been a week, okay? Good night, F. Kitty. Love and prayers and blessings to you too. So the something like this, anything, there's got to be a lick of patience. Where is the patience? It's been 33 hours and this is what we have. And people are going, I can't believe how bad the FBI is. What? It's been 33 hours. They should have done, caught the guy and strung him up, and he should have already been to court and life sentence or firing squad. And, 33 hours, not 33 days. No, 33 hours. And folks are bitching and complaining. And it's like they have the right to say what they want. 33. I know. I saw that number several times. And a couple of people repeated that number, Richard. And I was like, Now, these are supposed to be the good guys. But even the good guys can be sending out clues, you know? Yeah, I lost the 20. I'm going to shut up for a minute. But to the point, though, that these people have the right to criticize, but, you know, I also have the right to call them a dumbass. It takes time for certain things to happen. It just, it takes time to run a test. It takes time to make sure that you have typed in the right information and that you run spell check, you know, and it takes time to make sure that the people that need a copy have a copy. And it takes time to sort through this stuff. And anybody who has ever been in a crunch situation involving a lot of other people knows that there are people over here that are doing something and they're really good at that. They're like the Doge people, right? And they're in there doing their stuff. Then there are people over here that are really good with um, physical things and fingerprints and stuff like that, you know, bigger items. And then there are the folks that go digging into the computer hacker thingy. And then those people are, you know, then there are people who go over the map and trajectories and all kinds of other stuff. And so there are people who do things that they're good at. But any one of those things requires time. So the fact that they have given us the information they have in the short time that they have given it to us, I'm impressed. I'm like, really? You know, uh, we'll see. Now, I've always been the person that help explain what we have seen. For example, on that Sunday morning, I watched um, Jack Ruby break into the line and shoot Lee Harvey Oswald live and in black and white on the TV before we went to Mass that Sunday. Watched him run right up to him and shove that gun in his gut and pull the trigger. I'll never forget it. So, uh, what's the narrative? Who is this guy? Who is Jack Ruby? How did Jack Ruby get in there? And then there's, well, Jack Ruby's been hanging out a lot down there at the Dallas Police Department. He's been supplying prostitutes to some of the detectives on the side, and he runs a, he runs a, you know, a club, you know, booze and women and gambling, and and all the cops know about him, and but he's been hanging around ever since, and so Jack Ruby, he everybody knows who he is, so him being there that day with the gun, nobody thought twice about it. But to those of us, for me, who watched him do it all these years later, I'm like, I can't get that out of my head. You know, I'm like, what, 10 years old ish? And I see Jack Ruby get, 52, and that was 63. I was 11. So, my point is about the truth. The truth of the matter in that particular instance, whether we thought Lee Harvey did anything or not, it was obvious that Jack Ruby put a gun in his belly and pulled the trigger. Everybody saw it. It was on TV. You know, the cops were right there. They arrested him. So that is an absolute fact. Can't take that away. Who did it? The only thing you can ask is why, right? So, but did he do it in front of all the police, right? Yeah, sure he did. So, then there was, well, did Oswald do this or did Oswald do that or was Oswald even there or all that speculation, right? But the fact that Jack Ruby was there with a gun, shot him in front of everybody, absolute fact, can't change it. Other things are speculation, right? So in this, we must bring this forward, okay? After all these years, here is a one bullet theory. Now, there are some folks saying that, and I have not looked into it. I do not want to see the blood coming out, okay? But some are saying that it's an exit wound, not an entrance wound. Like, what? Oh, no, here we go with, that the doctors are going, this, no, the bullet went through this. What? So he got hit from behind? What? Um, Wait a minute. So the guy on the roof was a patsy, and there was somebody else someplace else who took a shot. Or what? So, but anyway, here's the thing. We are pretty sure that this is the guy that was on that roof. DNA, screwdriver, towel, jumping off the roof kind of thing, and tracking him. We're 95%. That's. But now, is it true that the bullet came from behind? Is that true? And if so, then he is a patsy, and we should be looking elsewhere, right? And there are too many people that, right as it was happening, kind of thing, already knew about it and were cheering. We got him. We're like, what? So there was some premeditation stuff going on out amongst the community of whatever, okay? Whatever was in the Discord chat, whatever them folks was talking about and passing along, they have freedom of speech. You have every right to discuss whatever you want to, but your speech has consequences, especially if you knew about a certain thing ahead of time. And this tragic thing happened, and you knew that it was going to go on. You knew that Kennedy was going to get shot, 2 days ahead of time. Well, are you an accomplice? Well, you didn't say anything, but you knew ahead of time. Well, I didn't like the son bitch, so I'm talking about JFK now. Now, something I want to remind people, because I'm old enough. I remember when JFK got assassinated, and I remember that there were folks that were saying back in the day, they didn't have the internet, but in quiet places around, there were folks going, they're drinking a beer and having a cigarette, and they're going, I'm glad they got that son bitch. I just can't stand having a Catholic in the White House. That was the really big deal. Sister Michelle and little, or is that Sister Michael? But anyway, so there were many people back in the day that applauded JFK's demise because they did not like a Catholic in the White House. Okay. So they went along with, well, it's a shame he got killed, and well, it's a shame he's the president, and well, but privately they were like, well, glad that some bitch is out of there, did not like a Catholic in the White House. So you can't help it. There's going to be another side to stuff. There's going to be enough people who are going to side with the person or persons that committed the thing. So you say, well, those people committed the thing. Well, back in the day, there was Bonnie and Clyde. And there were people along the way who supported Bonnie and Clyde. And so it's like, but wait a minute, Bonnie and Clyde, terrorized, Kansas and Oklahoma and places in Texas. They was riding in Bonnie and Clyde, they were Bonnie and Clyde. But there were people that let them hide in their barns, and there was people that, but they're Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, but it was famous. Bonnie and Clyde spent the night in my barn. Bonnie and Clyde, had supper with me and Pa. Bonnie and Clyde were seen in, Echoville County and, near Kansas City or some, I don't know, that making this up, but they were down here my way. Bonnie and Clyde. But anyway, so in the day, people would listen on the radio as to where, if they were in their neighborhood or whether or not their town got named on the radio. Bonnie and Clyde were seen near Silver Springs, Florida, or, something like that. So anyway, my point being that, even though they were wanted criminals, there were still people who would, put them up, help them out, or whatever. Um, and very rarely turn them in. Although, they were like, hey, you better get out of here. The cops are coming. What? They'd turn them, they'd let them spend the night, but then they were like, they'd in the morning time, they'd say, hey, I got somebody in the barn you need to check on. And by the time the cops could get their stuff together, the person would say, no, y'all get out of here quick. So, and but man, they was here 10 minutes ago. You just missed them. Which way did they go? Which way did they go? And off and running, Bonnie and Clyde went again. And so here's somebody else that helped them out, right? So was it wrong? Was it these people that knew that Bonnie and Clyde were probably going to go rob and kill somebody else? Why didn't they lock them in the shed or whatever, or call the cops during the middle of the night and turn them in, or, so there's a lot of that, right? So now here are these people, and I'm saying those folks had the right to say or do what they wanted, right? Freedom of speech. Well, Mr. Jones, somebody said you had a car go by here that looked like the perpetrators, and Mr. Jones goes, well, officer, that there was a car, but there was an old man driving. I didn't see no man and a girl. So they would sort of tell about something with their fingers crossed behind their back. But in this particular instance, there are folks who it seems that they obviously knew ahead of time. And even if somebody was joking, I'd go, hang on. let me dial this 911. I got a friend of mine, and I'm not sure if he's joking or not. And if he ain't joking, there's going to be trouble. Now, y'all, I think you should send somebody over to pick him up and hold him for 24 hours. Because then, if he ain't there where he says something's going to happen, then something can't happen because he ain't there. Um, you know what I mean? So go get him, you know, or something, you know, in this, especially in the way it was stated. So, freedom of speech, talk all you want to. But do I have a bit of multi-car shootouts? Wait, that car, what they had was a fast car in the time. Oh, and you talking about Bonnie and Clyde? And um, from what I remember, it could be just a story, right? That Clyde worked on the car, and and there were some other folks that helped him to soup it up back in the day. So he it ran even faster. So but yeah, some of them shade tree mechanics back in the day could really do a number. You know, just like my grandma. Hey, Miss Sheila, how you doing? Just like my grandma talked about her husband Fred Red, who used to run moonshine from holy mackerel. That's a big old spider. Where'd you come from? Well, I know where you're gonna go. Holy mackerel, there, Andy. Hoo-wee. I do not like you guys. Go somewhere else. Hoo-wee. You better not crawl up this chair and get on me. I'm gonna scream like a little girl. But so anyway, so they could say spiders. There are a lot of spiders right there and right there, all up and down. But I have told them, do not come and get in my space. If you get in my space, you're dead, or I'm gonna spray you something. Suffer the consequences. Stay over there. Stay over yonder. Stay. Do not come in my space. But when they do, so I have been very specific over the years, you know. So, but anyway, so freedom of speech. So these people who have um, used their right to of freedom of speech, okay, should they lose their job? I think it's up to the situation. Um, am I praying that folks will lose their job over this? No, not in particular. There are some of them that I have seen that I wish that I hadn't. You know, you can't unsee it, right? I've not seen the final shot. Don't want to, right? Um, so the people who want to make those comments and jump up and down, and the boys and girls, mostly girls with rings in their noses and different color hair, don't care. You can do what you want to. As an old hippie, you know, I did what I wanted to, but I had to suffer the consequences. If I wanted to keep my beard, there were lots of places I could not get a job. Mr. Null, if you will shave your beard, you can work it. Well, but I like my beard. Well, then, you can't work here. My hair was, just a tad too long back in 1971, and you could not get a job at a lot of places. Okay, if I wanted that little bit of hair now my hair is like, is this long, is way down here now, and it's because I'll be 73 years old next week, y'all, in a week. But so I'm letting my beard grow and my hair grow just because nobody can tell me I need to shave or cut my hair yet. So it's just like I can say what I want to say, but then if YouTube finds what I say to be a disgruntlement to their algorithms, then they have the right to take the video down or to not publish it. So just like YouTube, people who sung and danced and everything in response to a certain person's demise should not be surprised that the algorithm of the web and people watching are going, what? You said what? And how you said it? You said what? And what? And you're a teacher? And you're a fire person? And you're a doctor? And you're a what? It's not that you're a farmer out in the field digging ditches. It's still not nice, but no, you work for somebody or you're teaching somebody or you're what? No, 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 no. So when you're working for the public, sure enough, and any government, whatever facility or hospital or something, there was a nurse or two or three or four, that got, tit canned. And it's like, I'm sorry, I don't want a nurse who might think that, well, God Almighty, he's a Trump fan. I ain't, and they don't look in on you. And you hit the button, nurse, nurse, I need help, nurse, nurse, nurse. And they go, that's some bitch. He's a Trump fan. When I was in the hospital, bring me ice for my back. And they didn't come for an hour or two or three. And I often wondered if the nurses on the floor are like, he's a Trump fan, but F him, let him be in pain. We don't care. You know, you don't know. I know it was several hours and I was in a lot of pain, but I can't prove nothing. Don't know, but there is that possibility. She's like, well, so do you want somebody that has that potential that they're applauding the demise of someone when they could be your caretaker? Are you kidding? I don't want that person taking care of me, right? So, adios. So, but anyway, so should people be surprised that there is this backlash from the public? Now, there's some multicolored chick with a bone through her nose or something. And do we really care about that chick? No. She's a student at some college somewhere. And the thing is, though, everybody knows what she looks like. Her chances of ever getting ahead or getting a job anywhere that will hire her, especially with all the tattoos on your nose. You could take the ring out, right? But all your social profiling and stuff will never ever go away. And you with the bone in your nose and the pink colored hair and everything, it's great that you have it. But in 5 years, when you want that good paying job that you went to school for, good luck. and then you're going to be one of them homeless folks on the sidewalk somewhere. Okay. So what goes around comes around. But a lot of us would like to kind of nip this in the bud, if you will. That people who have no morals, obviously, there's a bunch of them that have no morals that they could make these kind of videos, right? Keep your, don't do it online. Say what you want about a something, something. Don't do it online. And be tactful, at least. No one taught you how to be tactful at all. No tact, none whatsoever. And should I feel bad because you lost your job, or that other friends are going, oh, I can't believe you did that, or the thousands of strangers who are now going, look at that dumbass. Look at what that dumbass girl or guy, look at what that dumbass girl or guy, or in between, or we don't know, or take your pick, or, we don't know if it's a guy or a girl or something. Anyway, this thing is all pissed off and moaning and groaning. Oh, my rights of free speech. You said your piece, right? Everybody, they said their piece. None of us stopped them from saying or doing what they wanted to, right? They had that freedom to do it, and they did. And the rest of us have the right to remark about it. You dumbass. you know, it's different about what I feel you have the right to feel about someone or what they think or something. Go to the house and say it. Of course, some of them folks were at the house when they said it, but turn the damn camera off. Too many people think that, I got the camera on. Ain't nobody really going to watch me. I'm just saying this on TikTok, and I'm just saying this, nanny, boo, boo, nobody's going to care. And, I'm sure there's going to be people who agree with me. And then, oh, hey, y'all, look at, look at, look at that dumbass. You got to do the smack to the side of the head when you say dumbass. Yeah, but ping, dumbass. But so in the last 5 days, I have seen more dumbassedness. Do you know what I mean? There has been more dumbassedness. Take your pick. You could just go some, oh my God, there's a dumbass. And you scroll through and you go, oh my God, I thought the last dumbass was bad, but yeah, Tweedledee and Dum Dum, yeah. But that dumbass is even more of a dumbass than that last dumbass. Oh man, oh my God, at the dumbass. And then you go, oh man, there can't be anything worse than Jesus God Almighty. There's another dumbass. Lord have mercy at the dumbasses. Oh, let me take a breather here. Oh, the dumbasses. Oh, shoo. Man, they're just, let me throw some water in my face, Oh, man. Ah, oh, my heart. Gee, there's another dumbass. No, Lord, please don't make me watch another dumbass. Oh, no, okay. I'm just going to scroll on by. No, there's another one. No, they're all, Lord, the dumbasses are all over the place. Lord, I know that you created mosquitoes. And there are a lot of us who do not understand why ever you would make a mosquito. And so in this world, I'm sure that you have a reason for creating the dumbass. You know, Lord, the true dumbass. And I don't mean a, a blondie type of dumbass. I'm talking about a pure, shown up dumbass. So, but anyway, but these folks have set themselves up. And then some of them have doubled down. Like, well, I have the right to say what I want to. You know, and it's like, yeah, keep going on being a dumbass. Well, I can't believe why they fired me from, I'm a heart surgeon. I can't believe why anybody said that, I was happy because somebody died. I'm on the table. You got my heart open up, and you what? You what? You literally got to-tum, to-tum. My heart is in your hand. To-tum, boom, 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 boom. Lord have mercy. To-tum, to-tum. Are you a dumbass, Doc? To-tum, to-tum. Doc. He won't call me a dumbass again, will he? Okie dokie. So I'm play acting too much, but you know, Lord have mercy. I got my heart. Please, Lord have mercy. But so, but to they should have a society, the society of dumbasses. It would be S Society of Dumb Ass Soda. Society of Dumb Asses Soda. Hey, I belong to Soda. Really? Society of Dumbasses. Really? I'm proud of it too, man. It took my brother Jimmy 5 years to get in. Well, why did it take him 5 years? Well, because he was only 6 when he applied, and he had to be at least 11. Oh, oh. So he signed up early then. Oh, yeah. And in our family, we all belong to Soda. You know, it's an important part and a heritage of our families that we belong to Soda, the Society of Dumbasses. We're proud members. Have been. Grandpa was a dumbass. And so was Grandma because she married him. Right? But when you look at some of these people and how they acted, it makes you wonder, really, honest to goodness, it's one thing to have an opinion. It's one thing or another for, to stress your opinion. But then when you take something like something that is the topic being, kind of um, a little hot around the collar, socially speaking, and that if you were going to make a remark like that, you might could wait until after the wake, after the funeral, you know, wait till he's in the ground or cremated or something. I mean, and then say something if you want to, or And do you have to do a dance and do the thing, and do you got to dance across the floor in the kitchen? And do you have to, I mean, um, stating your opinion is okay, but then you make a video of dancing and doing this and how happy and and it just shows how 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 crazy you are. I'm sorry. It shows that you have no decorum. Let's look up the word, right? Um, you have no empathy. No one taught you about morals or aloha girl or mores. When it's appropriate to do or say certain things. You can think it all you want to, and you can go to the house and say it all you want to. Go to your neighborhood and spew it out. Go to the country club, ride down, ride on your golf cart down through the 18 holes and give your opinion to anybody who listen. But to do it on a platform that is open to a, a billion people, and then you wonder why you get criticized for your behavior. Free speech has consequences because you should know when to exercise that free speech. Like, standing in front of the firing squad going, hey, you know, I see you all are wearing hoods. Um, are there any white people under there? Not something that you want to say before your firing squad. Are there any white people under there? Because they're wearing a hood. Never mind. Inappropriate, something you should not, repeat, or, you're not going to have the chance to repeat it because they're going to shoot your ass. But you have the right to say it, you know. Is it appropriate? It's just like they said, what is something that you can't do is holler fire in the middle of a crowded theater, especially if there ain't a fire, right? You can't do that. That's bad. So they can put you in jail for doing something like that, right? Um, so you can say what you want, but is it appropriate, right? So you can holler fire all you want to outside, but not inside the theater with a bunch of people in it. No. So there is knowing about what's appropriate. And supposedly in school, if you took a sociology class, they supposedly were to teach you about morals and mores, right? What is a moray? It's an eel, you know, with electricity in it. No, 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 no. It's how you act. It's like a cultural thing, when the Mexican folks were around from the restaurants, how they acted when they was on Sundays when they were out and cooking and passing around and everything, you know, uh, their values as a Mexican culture are amazing, which most Americans don't really get a chance to see, right? But um, so, how they, take care of their kids, how, everybody watches the kids play. If one of the kids gets out of line or starts to go to the neighbor's yard, somebody, even if it ain't their kid, will speak up. Hey, you know better than that. Get back over it. So, same thing with the black community that I've found over the years, And, when I used to go to Lovejoy's house, at Christmas time and Thanksgiving and all, and, everybody would be out there in the backyard, and the ladies would be sitting back there, doing a 20, and then pass it over to Miss Ella. Miss Ella, they don't have to look around much, but they want to know where the chillins are. They want to know where the chillins are. So if one of the kids is coming over, one of the little ones, and advice, great minds. And now what? So, but these, I say old ladies, they were, in their 50s or 60s, but back then they seemed old and now they're like youngins, but be sitting on their chairs, sitting on the stools, and they take a hit, and then they pass it on. And then sometimes, if it was too far to pass it, then Miss Ella would just get her own joint. She'd just have her own, and she would just sit there and kindly hit it, and she'd pass it, but she didn't want anybody to see her pass it. She didn't want the children to see her pass it. But if she got the chance and everybody went in the house or something, she'd pass it over to the next one, or if somebody come over. So it wasn't like she was trying to hoard. She just had one that she just didn't, there was too far to reach to pass. So it was common, right? But they was always looking out for the children, no matter what family, or whether or not they had family. They all looked out for the children's. So we're gonna come up on a 20 in a little bit. I think I need a little. I want to get a bump before we get there. But so anyway, our freedom of speech. So in these coming weeks, months, years, probably, folks are going to be using this as a free speech thing, right? And it's like, but Dave Hawkeye, how can this be a free speech thing after all this time? Listen, I'm 73 next week. I've been a hippie all my adult life. I have contended, been in jail twice, arrested a couple other times, been to other jails for short times, thank goodness, posted bail. Um, but that somehow, you know, I had my right to free speech, and I went up in front of the judge and voiced my free speech. And he said, do you have anything else to say? I said, yes, sir, Your Honor. I think that blah, 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 blah. And he said, is that all you have to say, Mr. No? I said, yes, sir. He said, fine, guilty, 30 days in jail. What? Bailiff, take him away. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. Didn't you hear anything I said? Bailiff, take him away. Son of a biscuit eater. Holy crap. Yeah, that's what happened to me. I thought there was going to be a little bit of conversation or some kind of give and take or something. Guilty. Okay. So, I voiced my opinion. I had the right to speak. The judge even said, do you have anything you would like to say, Mr. No? Yes, sir. Guilty. Out of here. But yeah, you said what you said. That the less you say, the better to a judge. Oh, yes, ma'am. And that goes, you know, the that goes with a lot of stuff. I've learned that only here on this when I do live streams for 5 or 6 or 7 hours, do I can make fun of myself, and I should. I was actually talking to Mom about Hawkeye today. I said my little favorite old two, and she said, "What? What's a shaman?" It was my mom's 66th birthday today. Oh, well, happy birthday to you, Mom. She's still a Virgo. It's all right. Close enough to being a Libra. See, I'm only a Libra by a day. So it's like I ain't got much to say about that. But no, so our right to we have a right to any opinion, you know, but where we voice that opinion, you know. So there are people these days. Oh, YouTube. Uh, I'm like with my birthday on the 24th and the cusp being the 22nd or the 23rd, sometimes the 21st, and sometimes it's been on the 24th. So, it fluctuates here in this autumnal equinox. But so there are times when should we speak up or should we keep our big mouths shut? Well, it depends. If there's a city council meeting that you've gone to and they have an open mic where they've just had a discussion about something that they want to pass and you think it's a dumbass idea, then you should kindly go up to the microphone and discuss to the board of directors or whoever what you think that it's a dumbass idea. But I would say I've learned this, right? Do not go up there being pissed off. I did. And all that came out of my mouth was, what the hell's wrong with you damn people? And that turned them off right away. And they didn't hear a word I said, in the long run. Um, and it was that, we'd been lied to and cheated. And, and that, and but I did say, wait till it comes time for election day. So the guy that was in our district, we did vote him out of our district. But then he ran as the director of all of the districts. So we went from him overlooking one district to overlooking all the districts in Colquitt County. And it was some bitch. We can't get rid of this guy. He wasn't in our district, but Lord have mercy. So we eventually voted the guy out, but not until, but anyway. And the rest of the county had to find out how he was. But there are a lot of other commissioners that were going, listen here, buddy, we got you voted in. We can kick your ass out. So he got right with God and a couple of the commissioners, you know. But anyway, it's a 20 after almost. So, but anyway, so I think I want to propose this to you, the 9 people in here right now, and anybody else that comes in. I want to propose to you, watch the future. Just the next week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. Watch how these folks talk about free speech, and watch how the people who the people with free speech that are actually trying to say something, you know, and using a little bit of decorum, using a little bit of empathy. They can voice their opinion without, being too gaudy or gross or whatever. Like this guy, what's his name? Justin, Jason, something. He was Pierce Morgan and a couple of them, Anna Kasparian got dead in his shit. Um, and it's like, no, this is like this. And he was wrong about everything. And it's like, and so there are people like him who that even when you present them with the honest, true facts, this is really what happened. This, Mr. Jones was drinking. He left the bar at 4:35 on Thursday evening. He got into his um, Bonneville, his 1968 Bonneville, and took another swig off of a quart of beer sitting betwixt his legs. And he fired up that Bonneville and hit the gas and backed up with a screech out of the parking lot and went about 20 feet in the gravel, leaving skid marks. And then he pulled it down into drive and then stepped on the gas, throwing rocks and gravel that other cars parked there in the parking lot. And he tore off going north on 41. Is that true? Yes, sir, officer. Now those are the true facts. Is that correct? Yes, sir, officer. Now what happens after that? And it seems to me by the skid marks on the highway there is that you ran smack dab into this truck in front of you who was making a left-hand turn into the bank. Is that true? Well, yes, sir. And how fast were you going? Well, I don't know, sir. I still had my foot on the gas. And this is a 68 Bonneville. Yes, sir. And you had it floored. Yes, sir. I was trying to get out of town because my wife, she was going to needle me for getting to stopping by the bar. Well, now, sir, how come you did not see that truck? Well, I don't remember there being a turn signal. Now, I was in the pickup truck. This is a true story. I had just purchased that truck that day, and I made sure that the turn signals worked because back then in Florida, you had to get your vehicle inspected, and having the lights work was like, it was right on up there. Like they had to work or you didn't get your inspection sticker. So I know the lights worked on the truck. And he was drunker than a skunk and his head went through the windshield. How do I know? Because I gave him the shirt off my back to put on his face where all the glass and everything, because he was bleeding profusely about his face. So the judge says, but how do we know, Mr. Null, that you had your turn signal on? Because I was stopped at the place where you turn to go into the bank. There would be no other reason. Well, all right now, but Mr. Null, you have the right to say what you want. Your Honor, the guy was drunk. I had to give him my shirt. Well, that's all fine and good. And your word against his. And Well, and he works for this trucking company that has a shitload of money. And, I just so happen to have, some interest in that said trucking company. So, um, we don't want to find, that we don't think your turn signal worked. Well, how can we check? Because your client hit me so hard in the rear end that it wrapped the bumper of the truck around the cab and we couldn't get out. Well, that's a minor deal. Do you know how fast he had to be been going in order to do that to my vehicle and trap the three of us in the cab? Have you but you want to but you don't believe I had a turn signal on? Do you think that having a turn signal on was going to stop this van from doing it? Well, Mr. No, you have the right to say anything you want to. Now, whether the court finds it truthful or not. Wait. Whether the court finds it truthful or not. I'm telling you the truth, Your Honor. Yeah, well, that's for me to decide. What? Think about it. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, well, that's for me to decide. No, I'm telling you the truth. Well, that's how you see it, Mr. No. No, I'm telling you the fudging truth. Well, that's for me to decide. What? 30 days in the hole. 30 days in the hole. Yeah, there you go. So, but anyway, you have the right to say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Now, that judge said to that gentleman yesterday Tuesday, and his reply was like, okay. So he's in the county jail, and he has some kind of weird vest on that I thought was weird. Somebody said that this kid, to me, a kid, um, is like a life preserver vest or something. Like, okay, because he's on that watch. And so a lot of people can spout off their truth, you know, and something that I've seen about it um, was that as he ran across the roof, when he went to kneel down and get down off of the corner, he put something in the gutter in front of him. And when he got down and around, he grabbed it out of the gutter and then dropped to the ground. Absolutely had something with him. Okay. Um, but it also looked like something else was left in the gutter. When he bent down, he put something down first and then got down and crawled over and then got into the corner and then grabbed whatever was in the gutter and dropped down with it. So people can say what they want, but he did have something with him. Was it the weapon, the correct one? I can't tell you that one, but he did have absolutely, and it was wrapped in something. So look at the video again, but he did. Um, That's all I know as far as that goes. But I didn't have to watch it but once or twice, to go, he's got something in his hand, you know, and that one of the reasons why when he dropped down, he lost his balance and hurt his ankle. And that's why he was limping. It wasn't because of something he had stuffed in his pants. He twisted his ankle when he dropped to the ground. I have dropped from roofs when we were playing as kids at the local elementary school. We'd find places where we could crawl up and run across the roof and do shit. So, and then we'd have to get down. A car's coming, ooh, and we'd go over to a corner and throw our legs down and try to grab a pole and slide down. Been there many times and grab a hold of it, and drop down. So, and not quite from that height, but still have done the same thing. So, but he did have something in his hand. So that's the end of my 20 for the moment. So, anyway, so asking you clearly, dearly, my dear friends, is so coming up here in the future, just as an observation, who or whom is going to start barking about free speech? Who are going to be the ones that bark first and try to bark the loudest? Oh, they're not getting their free speech. Oh, my free speech has been, infringed upon, and you can't do that. Wait. Um, did you say this? Yes or no? Well, yeah, I said it, but if you said it, then you must suffer the consequences. You can say whatever you want, but you suffer the consequences. That's all. Just like any of us. I can say whatever I want to, but I know that if I say certain words, which I have been avoiding, you know, and I have not mentioned anybody's name, or I think I used the word weapon, but okay. But other than that, everything has been innuendo or another type of, expression. So you can talk about stuff without using, keywords or trigger words. But if I, but, 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 I can't say it the way I would like to. So that means my civil rights as a human being is being infringed upon because I can't say it how I want to say it. Well, but I can still say it. Well, yeah, Dave. I mean, yeah, but you can't say it the way you'd like to say it. No, but I can still say how I feel about the situation without using cuss words. Because 9 years ago, I was like, well, that's this thing. People can't tell me what to fucking do, or I'm doing the fucking thing I want to. Anytime I fucking want to. Just, and then I started seeing myself and realizing that I don't want to listen to that, meaning me. And I was like, oh, dude. And so I was going to delete some of my earlier videos because there's a bunch of F bombs in it, And I'm like, I don't really want to be like that. I want to have conversation. Yeah. And somebody said, yeah, but Dave, you could say anything you want to, any way you want to. And I was like, I know that, but you know what? There's a choice. I want to make the choice to every once in a while, I slip up now and again, but I have regulated and relegated my F bombs to the word fudge. the pudgeon thing, so y'all know what I'm talking about. But if I'm saying that pudgeon thing, um, I'm, yes, in my head, it's the F bomb, but I'm not saying, assassins are us. So I do think there's been, I think there's going to be somebody else who's going to try something else. And now, what I heard today, it was yesterday's thing or the day before. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's from Georgia, is that somebody has stipulated that she's next on the list that these crazy folks have put out there. And she's like, you know, this is crazy. I got to hire people now because they they've got this list that says I'm next. Are these people serious? Whoever these folk are. And I would say that who has been printing there's a list are us. Yep. But D, and Trump brought it up, I don't know, it's been a week or so ago. And he was like, who do you think, he was talking about George Soros? And he said, who do you think is paying for all of these signs being printed up? And he said, all you got to do is look down there in the street at the people carrying signs, and they're not homemade signs. These things are printed at a printing shop, and that's expensive. And I was like, I had not thought about that. I do know back in the day when we made posters and stuff for the theater group and what it cost us to do certain things and local printing costs. I got to be friends with a gentleman who had lost his wife in a bad car accident, and he ran a printing shop, and so I'd visit with him and chit chat with him, and and help him out. And I wanted to learn how to use a printing press, and but anyway, um, and he was a cool guy. Um, and it's a shame that his wife got killed. But the vehicle she was in got T-boned, and it took her out. There was that was it. And I think her son was driving, and uh, Giancarlo, Juan Carlo, and it hurt him bad. But it was like we had a chat afterwards, a couple of years later, and he was in one of the shows I was directing, and I asked him. I said, it's been you know far enough back. Can I ask you a question or two? You know, I've watched you come to the theater and, you know, been there at your dad's at the print shop, and you've been to the after parties and stuff, and we've had conversation. I would just, you know, I know you were driving the vehicle. I said, is there any way you feel guilty because you were driving? And he was like, what? And I was like, I know this is an off the wall question, but I wanted to tell you that if you are, stop it. That's where I wanted to go with it, right? And he was like, he said, I did, but I realized that that the person who T-boned could have hit the brakes, could have swerved and hit slightly sideways to have taken some of the kinetic energy out of the accident, right? And so he was like, I know that if I'd somehow done something else, but he said, they hit us. And I was like, exactly. So, but anyway, so um, having listened to some of these folks and their excuses, so the person who did the T-bone, well, you know, he entered the intersection too soon. But wait a minute, no, what it is that you ran a red light, and he's guilty of going when the green stop. It's green, so he went, and you were still coming and T-boned the car. And you're saying because he went too soon, how was he supposed to guess your speed and that you were coming, and that once he started in the intersection, that was that, right? So, but in the discussion of this, so the truth is that, Juan Carlo did nothing wrong and started and into the intersection, and the guy ran a red light, T-boned him. Juan Carlo didn't do anything wrong. He feels like now what he's learned is that he should have looked both ways. You always look. You don't just leap out and it might say green, but you better make sure that everybody stopped coming both directions, right? So he learned that, but he was not in the wrong. But now the argument, I'm getting to a point. So the truth was told from Juan Carlos' point of view, and the truth was told by the person who T-boned them. Well, but he shouldn't have been there, Your Honor. Yeah, but you ran the red light. Well, how can you prove that I ran a red light? How can that it's him who was in the intersection too soon that I ran into him. So what about who's got the truth? So the facts, what the police saw were the skid marks. So what comes out is the truth. So what's going on now is the truth. People have to listen to the facts. The facts are that the skid marks are, and the fact is that you were going 50 miles an hour in a 35, and you were in the middle of an intersection, and so now Mr. Juan Carlo over here, he had the right of way because he was in the middle of the intersection when you hit him at doing 45 miles an hour, 10 miles per hour above the speed limit, Mr. Jones. You know, so when the facts are presented, Mr. Jones still feels like he's in the right. From his point of view, his truth is correct. The real truth of the matter is that the facts show this, okay? So that's freedom of speech. Well, Dave, you went around this a long way. I know. But Mr. Jones had the right to say how the facts were. He had the right to say what he thought was correct. From his point of view, Juan Carlos shouldn't have been there because he was running a red light and was hauling ass and was going too fast because he was late. That's the truth. So, but he had the right to speak his piece. Guilty, Mr. Jones. So we can say our piece. We can, we can muff and huff, but the facts will be the facts. People justify their evil ways. Absolutely. My sister said, your truth is different than mine. Right. Our perception of what the truth is. Also, our perception of what we think is appropriate. So apparently, all these people here recently who have lost their positions because they were jumping up and down and doing all this other stuff, it's like, it's the shame on you. I'm sorry. You can feel that way if you want to, but shame on you for doing it out in public. I'm sorry. You I'm not trying to make you feel, that you should feel something different. But didn't your mama teach you better? You don't do that in a public forum would be one thing. Like if you went to a student council meeting or something and you did something goofy, but then you do it online and there's a gazillion people can see what you did. Are you not paying attention here? But I have the right to say what I want. Yeah, but did you have to understand when it's appropriate? But see, people these days have not learned this, how things are appropriate. They just think, well, I can say what I want to when I want to. And I can say however I want to. I got my phone. I can say what I want to when I want to. I can say it, because again, I can do it. I got my phone. I can say what I want to anytime I want to. And I just got my cell phone right there. I can do it right there. I can say it what I want to. Yeah, okay. But it doesn't mean that you should, right? So, our as Marjorie Taylor Greene said, she wants a divorce from the other side. And in a lot of ways, I absolutely agree with her. How can we make amends with people who do not understand that? I'm not trying to take away their right to speak. I'm just asking them, should you learn a certain amount of manners and know when it's appropriate to say certain things or do certain actions in front of the freaking whole planet? Y'all seen that Progressive insurance company? Um, yeah, it is an advertisement in it. Is it Progressive? Anyway, it's like, he's trying to teach these folks that, you know, what not to do. And so it's like, the one guy's like, take a picture. And he's like, no, 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 don't do that. And, hey, so anyway, so, like a lie like a rug. For a long time, that did not make sense to me. Well, rug is on the floor. And, if to lie, that's like telling a non-truth, right? How does a carpet have anything to do with a non-truth? Oh, lie. Like a, oh. Sometimes nuances went right over my head as a child and a teenager too. And it took me a while to learn some other things. I have been naive up to the point of, I can't think of anything recently, but it hasn't been too long ago. I was like, what? So say what you want, but for God's sakes, learn when to say it or not. which is more appropriate, is to when not to say it and where. You know, you're sitting in an airport waiting on a waiting on a plane, and you could be in one of those little conclaves, looking up, waiting for the thing, and you could be chit chatting, but you don't want to talk about, you know, reloading 12 gauge shotguns and shit. Me and the boys, we got a bunch of gunpowder, and yeah, remember when we was shooting them up? Now, you might be a couple of good redneck boys that are, going off to hunt. That's okay. But you talk about hunting and, doing reloading and packing shells and killing power and shooting power. Some little old granny lady over there trying out one of those new cordless earphone things, and she hears some of it, and she's fixing to get on the same flight you are. Now you're going to terrify that little old lady because they're talking about guns and blowing stuff up and just like so she might go to the person in the aisle. Hey, you better watch those men up there. They were talking about guns. And now the waitress lady in the aisle, she's like, uh-oh. The granny lady back there said that these three guys were talking about guns. So now she's going to go up to the front and talk to the sky marshal and go, that little old granny lady back there said them three guys were talking about guns. And now the sky marshal, now he's going to be watching, see what, and they were talking about hunting at the house. Had nothing to do with, anything on an airplane or nothing about taking over it. Nothing, but the little old granny lady heard something, or somebody else, some Karen person that's frantic and hyper. I thought you were talking about gunpowder, and to the we can't leave until they give you get those men off of here. They talked about gunpowder. Oh my God, they're gonna blow up the flag. Holy shit! What the fudge? So there is that too. So we have to contend with all of this. But so I feel like there are going to be people in the news who are going to push this thing of, I have the right to say what I want when I want. And so the fight's on. The fight's already on these last few days, but the fight's on now. And I contend, I don't care what's on your brain that you want to talk about. Either learn how to say it discreetly or with a little bit of empathy, especially like what some of these dumb people did, or don't say it at all, especially on the internet. Go to the house, turn off the camera. Don't be a dumb ass. Period. Ding, ding. Right. Don't be a ding, ding. Hey, you over there. You want to be a dumbass? Here, get on here and say this and do a little dance for me. Let's see if we get any reaction. Okay. So, but with that said, so I contend that these folks are going to get worse with this before it gets better. And they're going to try to push that both are correct. And I contend that, oh, no, hell, they ain't. I don't care what you have to say. I don't. But I do care how you say it. And whether or not you're going to like say it in front of me or say it in front of my children or say it in front of my good friends here, or bad mouth a, if you're going to bad mouth a friend, then bad mouth about my friend to only me. Make sure there ain't nobody else listening, because you can say what you want. Well, I'm gonna pick on D Hook right now. You can say what you want, Dave, but sometimes that D Hook, she'll type some stuff in that chat room, and what? Well, I just don't like what she types. Well, what did she type? Well, I don't know. I just don't like what she typed. Well, and so what do you want me to do about it? Well, D Hook, just look at her name, D Hook. D Hook what? Man, I just don't know it. And she typed some of the strangest things. What the hell is this aloha stuff? Calm down, Hey, Lucky, what you doing? And so, all right, my invisible friend, you can say what you want about somebody, but then you should have a conversation if you want with just me. Okay. But then to bring up the subject, well, like here, and say, well, Hawkeye, you know, you shouldn't allow this person, you know, you shouldn't allow Lucky Stone to be in your chat. Well, why not? Well, because, well, I don't know. I don't like him. Well, I don't care what you think. You can say what you want to. But see, it's up to me to make a decision about whether or not I think you speak the truth. Well, I told you, you shouldn't like Lucky. But why? Well, just because I said so. Well, but what if Lucky has to prove something detrimental to me? I have not seen anything in his behavior. So, but are you trying to lie to me? Well, but I don't like Lucky. I think you ought to watch that Lucky boy. But who are you? So from this is this invisible person, Lucky. Okay, so this invisible person is trying to tell me, but they have the right to speak what they want to, whether or not the truth is what they're telling me, what they think is the truth. What well, yeah, but they don't like Lucky, and this is their reason. Okay, you don't like Lucky. Okay, fine. And but to them, it's the truth, and to them, it's like, oh my God, if you allow this person in your chat room, you're gonna. And I've had some people tell me that, through a an email about someone. It's been a while, but about this, and I was like, why should I listen to you, to this person? Well, because well, I wouldn't lie to you. Well, how do I know that? I've only known you online for maybe 2 months, and you've made some comments in the chat, and yeah, okay, but um, most of the time I watch a live video, I stay out of the chat. Yeah, Lucky, it's nice just to know that you're around, and you have the opportunity to jump in anytime, and you're welcome. So, but in this realm of telling the truth, and that someone has the right, their First Amendment right. Yeah, but it's when you say it. So you watch, my dear friends, they are going to go to town on this free speech thing. It's not free. You're trying to keep you're trying to keep me from saying what I want to. Now, Pam Bondi said something today on the Fox, and she was like, "There's speech, and then there's hate speech." And I was like, I think I know what she means, but you're going to get the hate speech? Well, all speech is sort of hate speech if you're talking about the behavior and some of the things that are said about folks. And you know, you're a you know, I'm a dumb, ex-Catholic peon, something, you know, um, and the swamp creature got into eat my brain up, and that's how I feel, the way I do, and that's why my hair has grown so long. The swamp creature got a hold of me, and now look at me, you know. I'm afraid to cut my hair because then the swamp creature would eat me. I got to have this, so I can hide my nose in my beard so it will filter out the swamp creature. Anyway, I can say whatever I want to, right? Is there a real swamp creature? You get my drift? Yeah, well, Dave said there's a swamp creature. So let's tell the truth, but how are we going to prove it? Well, but these people said, right, but okay, so where is the proof that these people said? I ain't saying they didn't say it, but if you're going to accuse them or me of saying something, do you have a recording? And I'm not trying to be a butthole. I want to hear what I said, okay? I know I chatter on and I can say some of the dumb shit. So I may have said something, play it back. I'm good, you know. And if I said something inappropriate, I will absolutely, want to. Is Paula everything is a psyop still around? It is refreshing. I have not seen her. Paula, we can't say I'll prove itself and eventually. Um, but anyway, also there are events that you all were sort of talking about a little bit ago about our perception of things. So the folks that were at the event the other day, if they were sitting, stage right, and back up in the side, they had a different view than the people that were sitting down front. Okay, plain and simple. They saw the same event, but these folks were stage right and up a level, and these other folks were at eye level, dead center stage. So both saw the same thing, but they didn't because it was from different vantage points. So the effectiveness to the people who saw it were different. Oh my God, Toon. And this person over here saw it from the side. So different points of view, looking at his face, seeing the thing, the da da da. So the whole how people ran, whether you ran right away or whether you stood there stunned or whether just you know what happened, right? And not necessarily that you did anything right or wrong, but then later on you try to explain what you felt, what you saw. But the person who's up here, same event, saw it from a different point of view. You sitting down center, same event, different point of view. How you describe it, how you saw it, and from your positions, it also it affected you like hell, right? You saw this happen to a person live and in color, and not what you expected, and it's going to be in your brain forever. And so it's like, now what? Now you have to face the truth of what you saw. But if somebody asks you to describe it in the future, what did you see, Mr. Jones? Well, what I saw was da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. This person over here said, I heard it, saw people react and saw it. And then same thing, split split second change in perception. Just that quick. What? And then this person, what? So in that wobble of time, there was a slight change of perception, but they both saw the same thing. They're both truthful. They're both the truth. But now in this future event that I'm foreseeing is these people are going to, I have free speech. I can say what I want to about it and how I feel about it. And you all have no right to judge me because I, First Amendment rights, can say what I want to. And y'all can't do anything about it. Right? Well, but is it truthful? Well, but it is from my opinion. It is from my perception of what I saw. I was there. Well, can you prove it? Well, no, there's a picture somewhere, and I'm the one that's sitting down front. What about the other guy? Well, he's up over here somewhere. Is there a picture of him? No. Is there a picture of you, Mr. Smith? Well, I was up here. I saw it from the side. Well, okay. But you were both there, right? Both are true. Both the statements are true to how they perceive it. So what about the rest of everybody? They're going to tell it how they perceive it. What about the news people? They're going to tell the story as they perceive it by what you told them or what they heard you say. Or here's a biggie, or what they thought you said. Well, Mr. Jones, he made a comment that was like this. Man, unless Mr. Jones comes back and says, wait a minute, I didn't say that, people are going to run with it. Well, Mr. Jones, did you hear Mr. Jones said, well, Humpty Scrunch, in their newspaper said Mr. Jones saw this. Okay. So, perception. Tell the truth from your perception. Get whatever receipts that you can. Humpty Scrunch. That's right. Sigfrid and Roy made a living doing just that. That's right. Humpty Scrunch and shit. But so it was a tragic event. That reminded me too much of other things. Other shootings. Oh, I said the word. Other things with implements of destruction and, the talk about rooftops and things and angles and such. And it's like, here we go again. Now, I would submit that we as a society be nice. I don't think we're ever ever going to get rid of crazy people, because there are going to be people that are fine up to a certain point, and then something in their head's going to go, I don't like this shit no more. I've had enough of this shit, and by God, I can do something about it. So I'm gonna go take care of this shit. And then somebody's gonna go down. They're gonna take care of some shit, and everybody else is gonna go, "Oh no!" And from that person's point of view, they took care of some shit. And in their opinion, they were right in what they did and righteous in what they did, because the monkey got choked and we all went to heaven in a little boat. Clap, clap. Oh, what was it? Yep, I remember that one. Boy, that's an old one. So, telling the truth, I can feel this way if I want to. Okay. But should you project it to anyone else? Do you think that anyone else wants to hear your opinion? Well, he let everybody else know how he felt about stuff. Okay, fair point. But I don't remember cursing people out, or he always invited dialogue, invited, let's have a discussion, let's have a debate, let's talk about it, you know, versus, you're a pig, you're a, you know, you're a scumbag, no, let's talk about it, you know. So, but in your opinion, what he did was against everything that you stood for or that you stand for. What he stood for is 180 degrees out of what you believe. And therefore, you feel justified in what happened. You feel justified. And then, and it's like, yeah, I feel good because, I hated everything that he stood for. Okay, you can feel that way, but are you going to get on the internet and do a jig and a dance and proclaim, this and that, and make, statements that could be seen by his children in a year or two, or by his widow, and, or by friends and family, and, and that maybe you should tone it down, have a little. Do you know what empathy is? And I don't think any of these people do. And so, how do we teach these people in a society that seems rampant with dumbasses? You know, do we need to teach these people what empathy means? I don't care. You can think all you want to about how you feel, but shouldn't you decorum? What's that? Don't care. I can say what I want when I want, and I don't give a shit. That's the attitude of people today. Should that really be how we should act today? Honestly, you can still feel the way you want to, but you can express it maybe in different ways. You know, his point of view was totally opposite of mine, but I understand that you know um, He would not appreciate my a point of view, as I did not appreciate his point of view, and we would clash and have debate, and that's true. Um, and that it's a shame I won't have him to debate in the future, um, and that I'm sorry for his wife and children. That would be appropriate. But some of these clodhoppers, they even said, screw the wife and kids. Some even went so far as to say that now that you got daddy, to go ahead and take out mama and the two kids too. Now, the person that said that, I think that's a direct threat. Now, if you say what you want to, well, I said what was on my mind. Yeah, but damn it, that's a threat. I'm not in the FBI, but I would have that son bitch arrested. That's a threat to the family. Yeah, but I can say what I want. I have the right. I have my First Amendment right to say what I want to about it. But that's a threat to the family. You want to take out the children? Take out the wife and the children. What did you say? Do you think that in the least is appropriate? Maybe with your buddies at the bar, but you told everybody on the internet that that's what you want to do and what you think should be done, and that you're broadcasting it to other people. And there are other people who are crazy out there, and they're thinking, yeah, that's what we ought to do. We ought to, the hell with his wife and his children. Yeah. And then somebody else hears it and passes it. Yeah, the hell with his wife and children. Whoa. One crazy punk is enough. You know, what? Let's take out the wife and kids. What? So now the arrests are going to take place. The argument's going to come up. I have the right to say what I want. I have the right to say what I want whenever I want on the internet. I have a YouTube channel, or I can go to Rumble, or I can go to other apps, and I can say what I want to when I want to. And you basically can't stop me unless you shut off my IP address or something. But, basically I can do it. Okay. Now, YouTube has kept me from being able to publish something. They have just wiped out a video of mine that I'm like, what happened? Wait, whoa. They have blocked one or two of my videos because I said something about a vitamin or something, and or something like that. And it's like, what? I think one of them was, talking about, the bumps you get when you're a kid from the measles, and that, we was like, our parents would get us all together, and we'd all stay in in house and play games for a couple of days until everybody got it, and then we'd all go home. I mean, that's the way it was back in the day. And now we had 200 cases. I'm like, we had 200 cases in our elementary school, but never mind. It's different times. But so telling the truth about things, sometimes people tell the truth when they're stretching it. like what I just mentioned about the little bumpity things, how it was in the old days and how it didn't kill us. A bunch of us survived. And, there was the odd one here or there, but that it was an epidemic, well, it's all in how you told the perception. There were 200 kids in our elementary school, you know, from the fourth and fifth grade only. That was just them. And then the sixth and seventh grade got it the next week, so or there were those who had got it the year before, so they were all covered. There was the odd one that got missed. So, but if you lost a couple of days, you didn't get then they took them off, but nobody said, well, we're gonna um, dock you for being out sick for so many days. Nah, the whole school went through this now. But see, back then it was just part of the deal. It was part of life. It was how, not necessarily how things operated, but it was how things operated. You know, um, Nowadays it's an epidemic. If there's 200 people, and it's like, hang on here. Um, I'm not trying to say that it's not important, but are you sure that the word epidemic, that's my point about words, do you have the right to use the word epidemic? Now, when there was 200 kids at our school alone in Tampa at the time in the 60s, and then there were all these other kids from the other schools, I would say that was an epidemic, but nobody said anything about it being an epidemic. It was just a case of the M's that went through the school system, and we all survived. There was the odd one that got a fever and maybe went to the hospital, but I don't remember anybody dying. So my point is, nobody used the word epidemic. Nobody used any kind of word like we're all going to die. We're all, no. So today, they have the right to say what they want. And from their perception, it is an epidemic. But is it? Well, because some people have used the word epidemic, then all of us have to believe that, there were 160 kids that got it. It's an epidemic. No, when you get to 1,060, let's talk. Not that we wanted to, but no, 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 no. There's 160 kids. There are that many kids in the fifth grade at this school. Well, wait. So all the fifth graders had a case of the munchies? Okay. And they all stayed home for a couple of days and everybody was fine. They came back after having the munchies and they went back to school and everything. Yeah. Then what's the problem? But it was an epidemic. Okay. So wording, is it the truth? Well, did 160, folks, get the munchies? Yes. But was it an epidemic? That's my point. It's not that they didn't get it, but What does an epidemic mean? So, from my point of view, it's a whole bunch more than 160, you know, and it's, over this period of time. And you mean there was only like 600 total and that it was gone in like 2 weeks? It had run its course and you were calling it an epidemic? And that, well, it came in off the West Coast and these, school kids and but it ran its course. Well, yeah. Has anybody else got it? The odd one here or there, but no. So the epidemic is over then. Well, yeah, but it was really. So from your point of view, with the words that you spoke were supposedly the truth. Yes, the numbers were correct. That's true. Yes, they had the munchies. Yes, they had to say, yeah, yes, they had to, and yes to these things, but it was not an epidemic as compared to the 1960s or the 70s or the 80s or all these other times when there were thousands of kids that got the munchies all at the same time. And we just said, "Oh, look at all the kids that got munchies." And they were stayed home. They were, given a lot of, um, you know, different kinds of balms to put on their itchy spots and stuff, and calamine lotion, a lot of calamine lotion. And but we didn't know about aloe back in the day, but they told the truth, right? Did they withhold any information? No. Did we all survive? Yeah, we were tough. I'm a tough old bugger, right? They're going to tell the truth now. Who's going to believe them? How are they going to prove the truth? They have the right to say what they want. You listen to Morning Joe and Mashika Brzezinski. That creates between the two of them. I have listened to him state things and her agree with some weird twisted mess about things over the years that I can't believe those two aren't in jail from the pure out and out lies that they have spouted. And I'm sure that from some of the things they have said, they have instigated more racism and stress and strife within the community of humanity that those two folks should have lost their job a long time ago. But they need to. They need those two people. Do they tell the truth? No. Do the people on the View tell the truth? No. Sometimes they tell the truth in a weird, twisted sort of way from their twisted perception of things. Okay. So, they're sending troops into Memphis. I've been through Memphis a couple of times, and there are some really rough places in Memphis. Night Hook, or good morning. But, and so it's like, so there's the senator and there's the governor, and they say, we want you to go on into Memphis and straighten this mess out. Now, if you just patrol the streets and let our cops do the work, maybe some ATF and the FBI closing in on some gangs, but by and by, I didn't see any soldiers doing any arresting in Washington, D.C. They were just on the streets patrolling. Somebody look down the street and go, I'm not going to go rob that store tonight. Man, look at them guys. I'm not going to go hold up that lady. I'm not going to go carjack them folks. Look at the soldiers here in the neighborhood. Prevention. Just the fact that they're there. In Washington, D.C., they didn't even have weapons for a week or so. And then only like 20% of them were given guns. So it's like they didn't even have weapons, but they were just walking the street, paying attention, you know. So, so they're sending folks into Memphis. Now, Memphis is where the blues are, you know. And it'd be nice if you wanted to go to Memphis and you wanted to go down on Beale Street and you wanted to, Mama walk in on Memphis, right? That you don't want to get mugged or shot, robbed, stabbed, or otherwise, brought to be dead. So to have, folks to straighten some things out in Memphis is not a bad thing. To straighten Memphis out to where, the music can be more there and the restaurants, and not the killing and the beatings and the carjacks. No, take them folks, get them out of Memphis and let Memphis be Memphis. A lot of potential. It always has been. So, but what you're gonna, oh my God, they're sending troops all over the place. Oh my God, we're going into martial law. Oh my God, these troops, they're taking over the United States of America. Oh my God, here we go. What the hell? Oh, this is going back now. I used to be one of these crazy people. But there's practicality. Is this the start of something? Something that was said today, nobody's paying attention to, is that, and I think it was the governor that said to Trump that we have the National Guard in Tennessee want to go to Memphis, and some of our National Guard are from Memphis, and they want to clean up their own community and their own town. They want to have the opportunity to go in and clean up the city of Memphis. And so they're proud as National Guard members to go and help take care of Memphis. What's wrong with that? What in the world do you think that somehow the armed forces are taking over the world and that Memphis is in jeopardy of being manhandled and turned into some, military state run by the oppressive state of Tennessee through the troops? Do you really think that? Well, they might also go to Nashville. Well, Nashville's had a time or two with some folks, and if the governor of Tennessee agree and the state senator agrees that there is an excess of carjackings and thefts and looting and stuff, that sending in homebodies. In other words, this is our own troops from our own state. These aren't the troops from Ohio coming to Tennessee. No, these are Tennesseans who are going to go in and try to help clean up the violence and robbery and stuff in these communities with their soldiers. Yeah, they're soldiers who take a commitment, they take an oath, to be right. And if there are gangs, and there are, that are being run by Mexican cartels, which there are, so why would you send in the troops to Nashville, Tennessee? Because there are cartels in Nashville. Cartels, okay? Cartels that are, we're at war with them. War, the Department of War. So you send in soldiers to help fight the war with the cartels. That is absolutely real because ICE is arresting all of these, immigrants and people and stuff, and their ATF is there and their guns being, and explosives. They tried to blow up a Fox truck, one of the Fox um, news trucks. And the only reason that it didn't blow up is that the fuse went out. Thank goodness. But so this is what we have to contend with. Oh, but no, if he sends in troops, it's a posse comitatus, and you can't use the troops within the United States. And it's like, if they don't have guns, which they didn't in Washington, D.C., do you see a problem with soldiers walking around with them, with that, whatever, without guns? But there's a bunch of them that are doing some, patrolling and walking and being seen. Like, oh, there's a bunch of soldiers down there. Yeah, but and they're all talking and being good soldiers, right? But they're taking over. Oh my God, that they're not walking around with machine guns and shit. I didn't see any of that. Then they were just patrolling. And so at the moment, oh, but see, everybody's gonna get used to this, and then they're gonna really start bringing in the machine guns. Hang on, the folks that are going into Memphis are from Tennessee. Many of the National Guard people are from Memphis and or Nashville, Tennessee. And the people in the Guard want to correct the crime in these two cities and get rid of the Mexican cartels and South American cartels that are absolutely in both of those cities. Yep, call in the extra troops. Oh, but that's a nasty thing. It's a perception. And there are going to be people who are going to tell you the truth. This is the truth over here. Isn't that the truth? Uh-huh. Going to tell you the truth. And the truth is, they're sending troops in. And the troops are going in and they're gonna patrol. And they're gonna try to get guns off the street. And they're gonna try to stop violence. And what? They're going to try to get guns, and drugs off the street and stop violence. Ooh. Okay, my friends, that should be a no-brainer. Of course, we want to make our communities better. And who better to take care of our communities than the National Guard within our state? Tennesseans. If I was in Georgia and somebody said, oh, they called out the National Guard when the hurricane, tornado, and everything went through Valdosta and went through Douglas and all on up into the Carolinas, right? And so they called out the National Guard. Nobody complained. No, it's the Georgia National Guard. They're coming out to help other Georgians that were devastated by, the storm. Um, Georgia National Georgia National Guard helping Georgians in Georgia. Whoa, 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 whoa. How is that like a bad thing? So if the governor calls out our National Guard, there are people in Georgia in the National Guard that have served possibly overseas, and they're here to continue to serve and protect us lonely citizens who need help sometimes. Don't get your feathers in an uproar. So these people are going to tell you the truth, but the truth is going to be from a perception. So be careful if you speak up. These people have the right to think what they want. Oh, the soldiers, his policy comitatus, President Trump's trying to take over the United States. Shut up. It's just the beginning. Oh, shut up. You know, keep stop your jibber jabbering. You know, and to me, these people have the right to say it, but it doesn't make it right. But if they keep saying it, doesn't make it right. So there's got to be some clear level headedness. I don't think the soldiers from Tennessee are going to want to start fights with other Tennesseans. Don't see it. No, they're going to take pride in their state. They've already taken pride in their state because they joined the National Guard to help protect their state. Uh, Duh. So there's the truth. Let's see how far these cranks go. You're interfering with my First Amendment rights to free speech. But is it appropriate? Should you have learned more manners in school or otherwise? And if not, society's going to teach you a lesson. You shouldn't do that kind of shit on the internet. If you don't want people to react to what you're singing and dancing about, then you shouldn't have put it out there. Oh, they're taking it down and stuff like that, but too late, pal and palas. There's a Karen or two, and there are guys too now. Are guys Karens too? But to the point, though, very simple. Go ahead, express yourself, but then suffer the consequences for what you say. Don't be surprised if somebody else has an opinion and they say, you're a dumbass. You shouldn't have said that at that particular time in life and so forth. Maybe you should have waited a little while and then set it quietly over in the corner. But now that you have said it out loud in front of God in the world, then you must suffer the consequences. Tough. You exercise your right to free speech. Absolutely. Bravo to you, and I mean it. But now, honey, suffer, pull up your panties, put on your big boy, big girl, booties, because now you're going to suffer whatever indignant societal slap in the face to the people who lost their jobs. You shouldn't have done it. That's all I'm saying. You shouldn't have done it. You're grown up. That's for kids. You shouldn't have done it. That's all. Yeah, but I didn't like him, and I didn't like his fight. You shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done it. Yeah, but it's my right to free speech. You shouldn't have done it. I know you have the right, but you didn't have any empathy, no couth, all that kind of stuff. I ain't going to go back to that. But you shouldn't have done it. But I have the right. Yes, you have the right. But you shouldn't have done it. Well, I lost my job over this. Yeah, because you shouldn't have done it. You just so happen to be a dumbass at that time in your life. Do you think you'll do something like that in the future? Well, I have the right to voice my opinion. Yeah, you do. Did you learn a lesson, Sally? Did you learn a lesson there, Sammy boy? Are you paying attention? Well, I have the right to say what I feel. And I felt like, yeah, but did you learn anything? Now, let's see. I've said this now for the last hour. Let's see how far this thing goes with people. Well, I have the right to say what up. Yeah. But have you learned anything about what's appropriate and when? Did you learn a lesson? Did you maybe what you said wasn't appropriate? Especially on the internet? And now that you did it and society has slapped you dead fast in the face, and some of y'all got slapped pretty hard. And so now it's okay. How y'all gonna move forward with this? Because Greg Gutfeld kind of put it out there as like, we don't have this problem. We get it. We on this side understand it. It's you folk that's got this teetottering kind of thing. And so it's my right to free speech. Yeah, but then when you get hammered because it was inappropriate, then you go, well, I can't believe you're trying to take away my freedoms. No. You exercise your freedoms, but what about the rest of us? The rest of us have the freedom to call you a dumbass. Simple as that. Go ahead. Do those things. And then I get to call you a dumbass. I'm going to sit back here, I'm going to light a cigarette, and I'm going to watch these folks do this stuff all in the name of I have my rights, my First Amendment rights to say what I want, dumbass, and to say what I want and to be a dumbass. Oh, you're gonna say what you want, yeah, and then you're gonna be a dumbass. You're already planning on being a dumbass, right? Yeah. Why? Because I'm going to say what I want to. Oh, God, you're going to kill me. Oh, I got a heart condition. Oh, Lord, you're just going to keep on being a dumbass, ain't you? Uh-huh. I'm going to say what I want to when I want to because I'm hard-headed. Oh, my heart, please. Lord, have mercy. There ain't nobody up there waiting on me, but Lord, have mercy. It might be my time. Oh, Granny, you might be, you up there somewhere, ain't you? Lord, Granny, I might be coming to you. Oh, what a dumbass, right? It ought to be a fun show. I'm coming up on 3 hours. I can't believe it. I still haven't lit this cigarette yet. But so anyway, for anybody who have come in between times on this 3 hours, I will, sum up a little more at the 2 hours and 51 minute mark. You have the right to say what you want. I don't even want to go there about arguing whether or not you have the right. But I swear to God, as God is my witness, y'all people have got to learn some discrepancy. You've got to learn empathy, discrepancy, and empathy. Please, you can still say what you want. But if you learn a little of these two things, just some empathy and, a little bit of couth, look that word up, and what's appropriate. Well, why? I don't care. But then when you lose your job because you were a dumbass, because you said what was on your mind at an inappropriate time. You said what's on your mind, but you did it at an inappropriate time. Inappropriate time, you said what's on the mind. Kind of rhymes. Okay. Dumbass. Dumbass. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I haven't said dumbass in a while. Nobody's given me the opportunity to really look at, dumbass, over there. And, freedom of speech, dumbass, there they go again, showing off themselves, dumbass, oh my God. And now they're going to double down and they're going to argue free speech about this on national television. They're going Fox and Friends, Brzezinski and the what's his name on the two weirdos on NBC on in the morning, you know, and Rachel Maddow, she's mad as how it's gonna drive her nuts, and and Joy Reid and some of these other people, it's gonna drive them bat shit crazy. I can say what I want, but is it appropriate? Have any of you learned your lesson? Does it look, here's the thing, does it look like anybody's catching on? There's been one or two people along the fringes that are going, maybe maybe I need to learn to do this differently. Now I know I'm on the left, but maybe I should learn to do things differently. I can still be on the left, but maybe I should learn a little empathy. I'm still on the left, y'all, but I can still have empathy, even though the left is going to ping me for it. But, by God, I, I, I don't like this feeling I'm having. I think, I think I can say what I want, but I got to have some empathy. I need to choose my words better and maybe my timing, and I should have empathy for other human beings, and I can still state my position. I can still be a, but it takes somebody that's grown up to be able to look at their situation, be able to learn how to choose their words in a more appropriate way. They can still feel the way they want to, but they need to learn how to say things correctly and in an appropriate way. And so some of these people who might go on some of these morning, afternoon, or evening programs on even some of these other fledgling networks that it's one thing for your guest to say something, it's another thing for your anchor to say it. So to all the anchors, men and women who are out there, doing the thing and talking the talk, you need to stay neutral. Allow the people that you interview to have the feelings. You need to stay out of it, which will keep you safe all the way through. If you don't take an opinion and if you state the facts, and you can be candid and say, well, the facts say that he was guilty, so we'll see what the jury says. Doesn't mean that you agree that, well, I think he's guilty. No, because you've made the statement, well, the facts are in, he's guilty. We'll see what the jury says. That kind of leans you towards it. All right. So you can say things without actually having to say them by your actions. So it's coming up on 3 hours. I'm stretching this out for the last couple of minutes. Going to light my cigarette and tell you thank you very much. Um, please be careful with what you say and where before you put it on the internet. Look at yourself in like I'm looking at myself. Look at yourself and ask, do I really want this to go out there on the internet? Do I really want people to listen to what I just said? Do I really think that what I said might get me to lose my job? Do I really want to take the video down and think about this again? You know. So, to those folks, I hope they learned a lesson, not just about losing their job, but folks are going to be they're mad, and from some of the responses that I've seen and heard, these people haven't learned not a not an iota of anything. I can't believe I lost my job. No shit, you can't believe it. Honest to God, you can't believe that you lost your job and why. Well, I spoke my First Amendment rights. Yeah, okay. But you honestly can't believe why you lost your job. Nope, not a clue. So how are we going to get it across to thousands and thousands into the millions, quite frankly, of people who don't have any understanding of what's appropriate or what isn't appropriate, you know, or is this an appropriate time to say this? And should I say it in front of a million people? Is this appropriate? I have the right to say what is it appropriate? So let's see. We'll come back and revisit this in a few weeks or whatever. I'm gonna keep an eye on this, and just for fun, if you want to, you keep an eye on it too. I know somebody like that has no clue nor why. Right, Chloe. And and so as much as I'm like, I'm sorry that you lost your job, but I've been watching some of these folks, and I'm like, did you don't get it? You really don't get it. I mean, there's a nurse, there's a firefighter, there's two teachers, one an English teacher that I heard about, right? And it's like the, the English teacher was so left wing that it was like, of course, it was okay that this event happened, and that of course I would be happy. And of course, all of you students should be happy with me too. What? Because I'm happy about this, you should be happy also. Oh, oh, out, fired, out of there, out, out, out. How come I got fired? I guess because you're a dumbass. If you don't understand the what you did and how you did it, what you said, and what your thought process is, if you don't have an inkling of why, then you need to start over someplace. Somebody needs to show you. I don't know if going back to school will help you, because obviously nobody taught you any social skills. And somehow, when you became a teacher, you thought your shit don't stink and you could say and do whatever you want. And that because you're a teacher and in a position of some authority, that we should all kowtow to your point of view, and that you can say this and you can get away with it because you know what free speech is. And that's your excuse. Come on. As Greg said it the other day, we ain't taking it no more. As several other people have said, we ain't taking it no more. And you go, well, Dave, what do you mean by we ain't taking it? Taking what? We're not going to take this fake stuff. We're not going to take this, that you're coming up with an excuse. Yes, you have freedom of speech, but you don't know what's appropriate. Then it's time that society slapped you around a little bit. Don't want to hurt you too bad, but you need to get slapped around a little bit. People need to call you out and point the finger and go, you're a dumbass. And lost your job. Why? Because you said inappropriate things at the wrong time. Say what you have freedom of thought, but it was inappropriate. Do you not understand that? Do you not? You don't understand what's appropriate means. No, I can just do it on the internet anytime I want to, and I don't have to suffer the consequences. And that's what's happening now. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And my dear friends, as I close this up, it has been a lovely chatting with you this morning. But You can say what you want. Be careful when and where and how. But yes, you have a freedom of speech. Love you too, Chloe. But to all of us, we can say what we want to when we want to. It's true. Ain't have a wonderful Wednesday. You too, Lucky. I'm going to go in and pay all my uh, tax my to get my tags. Um, my birthday's next Wednesday, and you have to buy all your tags and everything in your birthday month. And so I got to go in and spend money to buy tags and stuff to keep all my vehicles up. So yay! I for my birth, I'm broke as hell this month. I'm not bitching, not Um, so for my birthday, I'm gonna buy $10 worth of scratch off. I hope I get something. And I got a couple of scratch off over there. I'm gonna take in tomorrow, so that'll be that. But anyway, I love you all, and pass along if people want to talk about this free speech thing. Tell them you got free speech, but it's just when you should say it. Oh, but I have the right. Yeah, you do, but is it appropriate? And if they want to bitch, oh, I don't have any free speech. Thank you, Lucky. I wasn't trying to solicit, but thank you. Yeah, I got to go pay the government. But if it keeps me, keeps my vehicles up, but now that I have the Jeep to pay for also, it's like, well, but thank goodness the Jeep's 10 years old. So the price drops on the tags, and there's like a standard fee instead of they used to prorate the tags, and so if you had a brand new vehicle, you could pay $300 for a tag, which was people was bitching about that, So I don't think that's what goes on now. So folks were telling me like, well, it should only cost you like $25 a tag. Well, yeah, but I got one, two. I got, I got three. I got three trailers, and two vehicles, and yeah, okay, we'll see how much it costs. But anyway, so be careful. Watch what you say, and when you say it. But you can say it if you want to. So tell your friends that you still have the freedom of speech. But if you think you have freedom of speech on YouTube, no. So why would you think that you got freedom of speech anywhere else in on the internet? And that by saying anything controversial, that you wouldn't get, you know, some kind of smackback from the social media folks. I'm sorry, but it seems like, I love this word. It seems like a bunch of you have are now classed as a dumbass, you know? And I pray for you. I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. I continue to pray that folks will learn the distinction that yes, you can say what you want, but learn what it is to be what is appropriate. So I'm going to continue to pray for that. But I had no idea there were so many dumbasses out there. You know, I thought, there's a couple. Some of the younger groups, oh no, there's folks of all ages that are dumbasses. Holy crap. And so, if, you know, you don't have to change your point of view, but please learn to be couth about it. you know. Okay, my friends, I'm repeating myself after 3 hours and 9 minutes. I love you all. Please be safe. And please tell your friends. You know, You can exercise your First Amendment rights. You can absolutely, from the dungeons of, the Count of Monte Cristo, he can spout off his truth. But when he was up there in front of the king, king, I think you're a piece of shit. To the dungeon. Oh, wait, what? I guess I shouldn't have said it. Well, in the dungeon, the king, he's a piece of shit. Well, he can't hear you. You can say it all you want to. Exercise your right at free speech. Man, you can do it from the dungeon. Be careful. So, I love you. Be safe. And until next time, this is Hawkeye Two Feathers saying, keep it between the ditches in your thoughts and in some of your cancel. What the hell was that? Oh. So thank you. Be safe. And I'll see you soon. Adios.